Well, we recently heard a little bit more from the creative team behind Lanterns, and they are teasing the new series as a, quote, DC Renaissance. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what the team behind the scenes at Lanterns had to say about the upcoming series, honoring the original comics, how a late great creative is tapping people on the shoulder, and why all this news just basically indicates DC is looking to the comics exactly the way fans want to. Now, I have to say, probably one of the most highly anticipated DCU projects is going to be Lanterns. We've waited a long time to see Green Lantern back in action, and this series is going to see John Stewart and Hal Jordan team up to take on a really dark Earth-based mystery investigating a murder in the American heartland. Now, we do know the show has a pretty great crack group of creatives behind the scenes. Chris Mundy, who headed up True Detective, is serving as showrunner, while Damon Lindelof, who's probably best known for Watchmen and Lost, as well as comic book writer Tom King, are all developing the series. Now, it's been pretty clear for a while that Tom King's growing influence on the DCU is front and center, and recently that particular creative did an interview with Business Insider and talked a little bit about the series. Now, he did admit in the interview that he feels a very personal, quote, responsibility to get both Hal Jordan, but more importantly, John Stewart right. Now, in that interview, he actually said, and I quote, "I was friends with Neal Adams, the co-creator of John Stewart, and every time I was in the room, I felt Neal yelling at me, 'Don't forget where you come from, kid.' Damon, Chris, and I came with a lot of love for the material, and we wanted to do what I've always done in comics, which is take these original creations and show they're still relevant today and why they can speak to both the audience and the issues of everything we're dealing with." Then he went on to say, and I quote, "Feels like a DC Renaissance. We're at the beginning of creating an entirely brilliant world." Now, honestly, everything we're getting from Tom here is absolutely perfect. Tom King's a great comic book writer, and I like a lot of his work. He actually wrote Woman of Tomorrow, which I've been recently reading and is really a great comic. But the fact that he's talking about Neal Adams here warms my heart. Recently, the world lost Neal Adams. He was a great comic book creative. And the fact that he was friends with Neal Adams and can basically feel him tapping him on the shoulder is exactly what we want to hear. I'm always one of those people that I truly believe that when you're creating a new medium for an established character, you really have to take what works from that character and make sure you transition it over to the new medium. Many of these characters, their origin stories, and the core of the characters are why the fans initially connected with the character, and that connection is what has to be built on. When you change origin stories or alter characters too much, they stop being what fans fell in love with, and that ruins the magic. Honestly, a great example within the Green Lantern world would be Ryan Reynolds playing Hal Jordan. There's really not a guy in Hollywood who's less Hal Jordan. Ryan Reynolds is a jokester, he has a complete smirk on his face all the time, and he kind of embodies chaos. Hal Jordan, on the other hand, is an absolute stick-in-the-mud style fighter pilot who takes no crap, shoots straight, and gets the job done. Reynolds would have made a pretty great Kyle Rayner, but when he brought Hal Jordan to life, it kind of broke the magic that Hal has because his personality didn't match. The fact that this team is focused on these characters in this way tells me they're ready to reestablish all of them in their very unique way. Each Lantern is different. Between all the different Lanterns, whether it's Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, who's also part of the DCU, or the many other holders of the ring, they all have sort of a unique personality. And it's super important, since they're all part of the Green Lantern Corps, to get that correct, or they'll just start feeling like carbon copies of each other. Now, we still don't have a release date on Lanterns for the DCU. Many of us are expecting it to arrive with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow sometime in 2026. Supergirl is expected to land in June, so many of us are expecting Lanterns to be a midwinter or spring project. Although DC has so much going on right now, it's really hard to tell, and they're doing kind of a good job not nailing down an exact release schedule, which keeps fan expectations managed. So, what do you guys think? How do you feel about Tom King's dedication to Neal Adams' vision of John Stewart? And do you think this thought pattern sets the series up to be something special? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Now, before you take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell for all the updates, and make sure you get every notification because we do daily Marvel and DC content and we don't want you to miss any news.